Hello, everyone. In this video, I will review the top 5 best movies part 1. Number 1, Sisu. The films, Sisu, might sound peculiar at first, but don't let that deter you, because what lies beneath is nothing short of brutal. From the very beginning, the movie captivates its audience with stunning scenery, meticulously designed props, and impeccable wardrobe choices. You can practically feel the grime and smell the decay, immersing yourself completely in the character's world. As the story unfolds, chaos ensues, and there's no shortage of casualties. While the deaths themselves are not particularly unique due to the film's historical basis, it's the execution that sets this movie apart. Prepare yourself for at least one death scene that is both grotesque and strangely humorous, unlike anything you've witnessed in cinema before. Sisu cleverly weaves dark humor throughout its narrative. The dialogue is rife with in-your-face sarcasm, serving as a concise substitute for profanity-laden monologues. It's both classy and dark, leaving you with a sense of what the characters truly want to express, all while maintaining a hint of giggly wickedness. I've affectionately dubbed this movie the finished John Wick, as it shares thematic similarities with the John Wick franchise but transports the action to 1945 Finland. Instead of assassins and the Russian mob, we have Nazis, and our protagonist, Atomy, takes on the role of the relentless force. He's known as Kozhai rather than Baba Yaga. Just like in John Wick, the film follows a pattern of massacres followed by revealing the backstory that explains past events and foreshadows what's to come. However, the historical context and setting make it feel distinct and fresh. While one might initially criticize the film for emulating John Wick, it manages to carve out its own identity due to its unique time and place. The reason for the story's continuation is expertly delivered, particularly in a scene where a German commander lays out the rationale, making you begrudgingly understand their perspective. This sets the tone for the rest of the movie, adding depth to the characters and their motivations. In a mere half an hour, you gain a comprehensive understanding of the characters, their motivations, behaviors, and competence. Unlike in Rambo movies, where you root solely for Rambo and despise everyone else, or in John Wick movies, where you're intrigued by other assassins, here, there are no one-dimensional villains. Instead, there are people driven by realistic motives, making you excited to see every character on screen, knowing that something significant will happen, whether it's character development, a pivotal death, or an intriguing backstory. Now, in terms of realism, Sisu might not match the gritty realism of John Wick. There are moments where the protagonist should have met his demise, and the film occasionally disregards the laws of physics, leading to some laughable moments for the keen-eyed viewer. However, the sheer raw brutality of the movie overshadows these issues, making them easy to forgive. In conclusion, Sisu is a gripping movie filled with unrelenting carnage, stunning visuals, strong performances, and compelling characters, all supported by a solid narrative in the second half of the film. It's a must-watch for those seeking an action-packed and darkly humorous cinematic experience. Number 2, The Big Short. The Big Short is a movie based on a book by financial writer Michael Lewis. It's all about complicated stuff like bad mortgages, financial tricks, and the 2007 to 2008 economic crisis. But don't be fooled, it's not boring at all. In fact, it's more fun to watch than most other movies out there during the holidays. Even if you don't know much about the financial crisis, you'll still enjoy this movie and want to learn more about what happened. The film uses lots of different techniques to tell the story. There are moments where the actors talk directly to the audience, a model in a bathtub explaining money stuff, and even a singing idol and a chef using cooking and gambling to talk about the economic mess. They use things like quick scene changes, slow motion, hints about the future, and going back in time to help us understand the complicated financial mess. The movie does a great job of explaining what happened while keeping us entertained. The acting in this movie is fantastic, from the main stars to the smaller roles. They really become their characters during this interesting time in history. Some people think Steve Carell did an amazing job because he played a character very different from what he's known for. But my favorite was Christian Bale, who played a math genius with a unique personality. He had a look in his eyes that we haven't seen since American Psycho, but this time he's only causing trouble for the mortgage market. Brad Pitt also did a great job as a former banker who helps his friends make a lot of money by betting against bad investments. Ryan Gosling also leaves his mark in the movie as a smart guy who saw the crisis coming. And what's fascinating is that all these characters are based on real people, which makes the movie even more remarkable. The other important players in the movie are big financial companies like Bear Stearns and Morgan Stanley, along with many other investment firms. Some of them ignored the coming financial disaster, and some even helped make it happen. From the people selling mortgages to the banks giving out risky loans and packaging them into bad investments, they were all making too much money to stop. This kind of excitement in the financial world reminds us of what happened in the stock market crash of the 1920s, but not many people paid attention back then or in 2007. The Big Short is a movie that tells a true story but adds some drama to make it more interesting. The actors even talk directly to the audience to explain what's real and what's made up. But if you're still not sure, you can read the book. The events in the movie really happened, and we're still feeling the effects today. This movie is not only entertaining but also educational and important. Number 3. The Imitation Game. The Imitation Game is a movie that honors Alan Turing, an important but often overlooked figure from World War II. Benedict Cumberbatch's outstanding performance brings Turing's story to life. The film is set during World War II and the years that followed, with beautiful visuals and music that capture the essence of England. The movie sometimes follows the typical pattern of stories about brilliant but troubled individuals. However, Cumberbatch's portrayal of Turing is subtle and powerful, avoiding the usual dramatic cliches. In 1939, Turing, an unusual choice, wants to join a secret project at Bletchley Park. Their mission is to decode the German Enigma code, even though Turing doesn't know German. What sets him apart is his love for puzzles and his daring idea to build a machine to crack all the codes, a revolutionary approach that puzzles his colleagues. Turing finds a valuable partner in Susan Clark, played by Keira Knightley. She not only helps with the work but also repairs Turing's relationships with his team. When Turing's work faces the threat of being shut down, his colleagues support him. He gets one last chance to succeed, and against all odds, he does. However, success comes with great responsibility. With the power to defeat the Germans, Turing's team must make tough decisions about using their breakthrough without causing unnecessary harm. In the end, the war is won, but Turing remains unrecognized as a hero. He faces persecution for his same-sex attraction, leading to a heartbreaking choice between imprisonment and hormone therapy. Sadly, a year later, at 41 years old, Turing takes his own life. Cumberbatch captures Turing's quirks and struggles with great skill. He shows the turmoil Turing faced throughout his life, from a troubled school experience to his post-war difficulties. Knightley's character, Susan, remains a supportive presence despite the challenges. While the film takes some creative liberties, it does a good job of portraying Turing's life in a different time. Finally, Turing gets the recognition he deserves, and the film tells his story with sensitivity, heart, and even some humor, which makes it stand out from overly sentimental moments. Number 4. Nobody. Hutch Mansell, an ostensibly ordinary family man, finds himself thrust into a dangerous world of violence when he fails to protect his family from two intruders one fateful night. While Nobody treads familiar ground, bearing noticeable similarities to the John Wick franchise, not surprising, given that Derek Kolstad, the writer of John Wick, penned this film, it manages to stand out in two notable ways. The first standout element is the unexpected casting choice of Bob Odenkirk. Known for his roles in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, Odenkirk delivers a stellar performance that defies expectations. He seamlessly transitions into the role of an action hero, exuding charisma and skill. What's even more impressive is Odenkirk's commitment to performing many of his stunts, adding authenticity to the action sequences. Additionally, Christopher Lloyd surprises with a brief but memorable appearance, showcasing unexpected capabilities. The second reason to give Nobody a watch is its action. The film takes its time to build suspense, but once the action kicks in, it delivers a rush of adrenaline. Director Ilya Naishuller, known for Hardcore Henry, showcases his talent for directing intense action scenes. The violence is unapologetically visceral, with impressive stunt work particularly evident in the gritty bus fight. What sets Nobody apart is its portrayal of Hutch Mansell as an imperfect fighter, enduring significant injuries, adding a layer of realism and vulnerability to the character. Furthermore, the film maintains a light-hearted tone, embracing its over-the-top moments and self-awareness while infusing comedy throughout. However, Nobody falters in its character development. Many scenes feel reminiscent of John Wick, making it seem like an inferior version. Supporting characters, like Connie Nielsen's, lack depth, and the main villain is underdeveloped, leaving actor Alexei Serebryakov with little to work with. In spite of its flaws, Nobody offers an enjoyable cinematic experience. The heart-pounding action sequences, coupled with Bob Odenkirk's outstanding performance, make it a worthwhile watch. The film's potential for a sequel or even a crossover with John Wick could lead to an extremely exciting future. Number 5. Unlocked. Smartphones have become such an integral part of our lives that we're closer than ever to resembling cyborgs, blending humans and machines. What science fiction writers of the past didn't anticipate was that it would be our brains, not our limbs, that would be intertwined with technology. Unlocked, a new South Korean techno-thriller on Netflix, delves into the unsettling world of phone surveillance, making us acutely aware of the vast amount of personal information we freely give away. Directed by Kim Tae-jun and starring Chun Woo-hee, Yi-won Kim, Im Si-won, and Park Ho-san, the film follows Nami, a hardworking young woman who divides her time between her father's cafe and a startup company she's devoted herself to. When Nami loses her phone, it falls into the wrong hands, setting off a chain of events that leads to her life being hijacked by Junyoung, a disturbingly clever stalker who escalates to serial killer status. South Korea has a long history of producing top-notch crime thrillers, and Unlocked is no exception. South Korean filmmakers excel at delving into dark themes, and their ability to craft visually impressive films is well known. Unlocked maintains the high standards of South Korean cinema, surpassing the average offerings from American and European industries. While Unlocked isn't groundbreaking, it follows a somewhat predictable path. The first act contains familiar elements seen in similar films, using common tropes and archetypes. It doesn't break new ground, but predictability doesn't necessarily make a movie bad. Despite its formulaic nature, Unlocked manages to be entertaining. The film's standout feature is its performances. Chun Woo-hee is an ideal protagonist for this type of film. She exudes charm and likability, and her character's vulnerability makes you instantly root for her. Even when she's passed out from a night of drinking, you can't help but sympathize with her. When her world unravels, you're right there with her, hoping for a reversal of fortune. Kim Yi-won also leaves a strong impression, evolving from a typical sidekick into a more intriguing character, avoiding spoilers. Im Si-won takes on the role of the villain, portraying a deeply unsettling character. His false charm creates a stark contrast with his underlying malevolence. However, the trope of the attractive serial killer has been used extensively. In summary, Unlocked explores the perils of phone surveillance in a world where our lives are increasingly intertwined with technology. While it may not break new ground and follow some predictable paths, it remains an entertaining thriller. The performances, particularly Chun Woo-hee's, elevate the film and keep you engaged throughout. Number 6. The Platform. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, especially during its initial stages. The first part of the film is gripping, primarily when the protagonist interacts with his first cellmate. The dialogue is sharp, engaging, and thought-provoking. This momentum carries through for most of the movie, but I have to admit that it seemed to hit a wall somewhere in the third act, particularly towards its conclusion. The film builds up an air of mystery and anticipation, hinting at revelations and potential changes. However, as the third act unfolds, it feels as if the story doesn't quite deliver on its promises. You're left waiting for something significant to happen, only to find that it doesn't quite materialize. There's a plot twist towards the end, but even that doesn't fully reinvigorate the narrative, and the film continues for what feels like an unnecessarily extended 10 minutes until the credits roll. The Platform presents an allegorical narrative that's quite in your face, although it generally works well. From my perspective, it serves as an allegory for societal class divides and the dichotomy between the rich and the poor. However, it can be a bit puzzling because the inhabitants are randomly assigned to a different floor each month, so there isn't a permanent class structure in place. It keeps changing. The concept of this constant flux is intriguing, as it forces everyone to treat each other with respect, given the uncertainty of where they'll land next. Still, I can't help but wonder how the story would have played out if individual actions determined their floor assignments, though that would have been an entirely different film. Moreover, I yearn for a deeper exploration of the world in which this story unfolds. The premise is undeniably captivating, leaving you with a host of questions. Why was this facility created? Who runs it? Do people ever leave alive? The movie had the potential to delve further into the lore of this world, painting a richer and more detailed picture of the setting. To sum it up, I believe the majority of this film is excellent, offering a unique and thought-provoking viewing experience. However, certain aspects of the third act and the world building could have been improved. Nevertheless, these drawbacks don't ruin the overall quality of the film, and I would still recommend giving it a watch. Number 7. The Revenant. This movie tells a story of relentless hardships. It starts with 45 men hunting for animal fur, but they are attacked by Native Americans, leaving only 10 survivors. Then, something odd happens. The main character, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, orders pastries called bear claws at a fair. However, bear claws don't exist yet, so people take him literally, and he ends up in a dangerous encounter with a real bear. Things get even tougher for him when his group finds him but decides not to kill him. They leave him for dead instead. But he doesn't die. He crawls through the wilderness, driven by the desire to survive and get revenge for his son's murder. This story is based on something a man named Hugh Glass supposedly told in bars during his travels. It started as a spoken tale, turned into a short story in a magazine, and went through many revisions. The characters in the story were real people, but it's uncertain how much of the story is true. What's remarkable is that the movie tries to be as real as possible. It doesn't use artificial lights, just natural ones like the sun and campfires, which makes everything look incredibly realistic. While most of the movie is exciting, some parts are slow. This happens in many survival movies because we have to watch the characters find food, deal with tough situations, and figure out everyday things without modern conveniences. After the bear scene, the movie becomes slow, even during exciting parts. This slowdown makes you wonder if it was inspired by another movie called The Towering Inferno, which also had pacing problems. One thing I didn't like was that they added a son for the main character, even though he didn't have one in real life. The son's murder adds a revenge element to the story, but it feels forced and forgettable. The movie keeps reminding us of the son through flashbacks and dreams, which doesn't really help the story. Also, the movie shifts focus to the main character's crew after they betray him. This feels unnecessary because we learn what happened when the main character catches up to them. Sticking with the main character the whole time would have given us a better sense of his survival journey. In short, this movie is visually stunning because it only uses natural light. It's worth watching if you appreciate beautiful cinematography. However, it has slow parts and a disjointed story. But Leonardo DiCaprio's intense performance makes it worth considering for your movie list. I will give this movie 7 out of 10. Number 8. Hacksaw Ridge. Hacksaw Ridge is a war movie that's not easy to watch due to its intense and realistic special effects. It's one of the most violent films you can see in a theater. However, it's important to note that this violence serves a purpose in telling the true story of an exceptional hero. The movie has two main parts. It first shows the early life and romance of Army medic Desmond Doss, played by Andrew Garfield, and then it depicts the Battle of Hacksaw Ridge. Doss, who grew up in Virginia with a troubled family background, was a devout Seventh-day Adventist who refused to use violence or carry weapons. Despite this, he felt a duty to enlist in the Army. He met nurse Dorothy Schutte, played by Teresa Palmer, and joined the Army with the belief that he could serve without causing harm. Doss faced accusations of cowardice and bullying, but eventually got permission to serve as a conscientious objector. He was part of the troops sent to capture Hacksaw Ridge during the Battle of Okinawa in 1945. When the assault had to retreat due to heavy enemy fire, Das stayed behind and saved 75 wounded soldiers by lowering them down a 100-meter high cliff using a rope. Hacksaw Ridge was eventually taken, and Das became one of the most decorated heroes of World War II. The heroism in this story is so extraordinary that it can overshadow other aspects of the film. The story is straightforward and relies on acting and cinematography. Andrew Garfield is perfectly cast as the principled and determined Das, and Teresa Palmer does a convincing job as a supportive love interest. The supporting cast is strong, adding to the film's credibility. However, the film's standout feature is its hyper-realistic cinematography and impressive set designs that vividly convey the horrors of war. While it's technically impressive, the film sometimes focuses too much on the spectacle of violence, which can be overwhelming. Sometimes, less could have been more in this regard. In summary, Hacksaw Ridge is a gripping film with a powerful story about an extraordinary war hero, but it's important to be prepared for the intense violence portrayed on screen. Number 9. The Martian. The Martian is a 2015 movie that many people think is one of the best that year. Critics liked it a lot, and they're right to do so. Some regular folks might not like it as much, but the bad ratings it got are too harsh. The movie is excellent in how it looks, how it's directed, and how the actors perform. Even if I didn't love it, I'd still rate it at least a 4 or 5 out of 10. The movie really stands out for how great it looks and how well it's directed. Simply put, The Martian is one of the best-looking movies of the year. The places where it's set feel real, and the lighting looks natural. But what really shines is how they filmed it, making you feel like you're right there. The director, Ridley Scott, did a fantastic job, even better than his work in Birdman, which was already great. In a world where big movies often show lots of people getting hurt or killed, The Martian is different. It's a positive movie that celebrates human cleverness and not giving up. It's not about destroying things or making huge disasters seem normal. Instead, it's about Mark Watney, who faces a very tough situation, surviving on Mars. Mark Watney, played by Matt Damon, is smart and practical. He breaks down his big problem into smaller ones. He has to make sure his habitat keeps working, find food, and talk to NASA. This keeps him from giving up, and even growing potatoes becomes a big victory. The script, which is the words people say in the movie, is really good. It mixes solving technical problems with funny jokes, especially thanks to Matt Damon. The parts on Mars are adventurous, with some problems that keep you interested. Unlike some space movies that are always tense, The Martian reminds us that space travel can be fun, even if it's also very risky. But The Martian isn't just about one person. The story goes back and forth between Mars and Earth, showing how people work together to rescue Watney. NASA's smart people try to figure things out, and so does Watney's crew, even if it means being in space longer. The best thing about The Martian is that it's hopeful. It shows that when people join forces and really try, they can do amazing things. Even though this message might seem a bit overused, the movie is so well made that it feels fresh and exciting. However, the movie has a small problem toward the end. Watney's journey to meet his crew goes very smoothly, which is different from the book. This sudden change in how things go might make you feel like the movie stopped being exciting for a bit. In summary, The Martian is a great movie with stunning visuals, excellent direction, and a message about human determination. Although it has a minor slowdown in the final part, Ridley Scott's return to form makes this movie a creative success and a must-watch in his recent work. Number 10. Operation Red Sea.
Operation Red Sea is a Chinese action film with a big budget. It's a patriotic movie inspired by the successful Operation Mekong, but it tells a different story with different characters in a different place. The story unfolds on the Arabian Peninsula, where a group of terrorists takes control of a weak government. The Chinese Special Operations Forces, known as the People's Liberation Army, receive orders to rescue Chinese people working in the country. Their mission involves saving a hostage held in a heavily guarded terrorist stronghold. Along the way, they encounter a determined French-Chinese journalist who reveals the terrorists' plan to turn yellowcake materials into a dirty bomb. Now, the military team must rescue the hostage, protect the journalist, and prevent the terrorists from getting their hands on the dangerous materials. This movie impresses in several ways. The story may not be very original, but it's more complex than similar American films, with some intriguing twists. The characters are likable, diverse, and distinct, making viewers genuinely care about their fates. The movie's choice of realistic locations adds variety and depth to the experience. The action sequences are some of the most stunning ever created, especially the intense showdown in the terrorist stronghold. The special effects are used judiciously, giving the film a realistic feel. Despite its nearly 2.5-hour runtime, the movie remains engaging from start to finish. Even the deleted scenes, which provide more background on the main characters, are charming and could have been included in the original film without making it feel repetitive. Unlike many Chinese films that emphasize patriotism, this one focuses more on the story, locations, and characters, making it more well-rounded. If you enjoy action movies, Operation Red Sea is a must-watch. It offers some of the most incredible fight scenes ever seen in cinema. Beyond the action, the movie also delivers an above-average story, endearing characters, and gripping tension that will keep you hooked for the entire runtime. While American cinema led the way in action movies with franchises like Rambo decades ago, it seems that some of the best action films today come from China and deserve more recognition and praise on the international stage.